Hello, my name is Alicia Shapiro with AiNews.com, and welcome to another episode of our Driving Tomorrow Conversations with Industry Leaders, where we explore the latest developments and newest innovations in the world of artificial intelligence. Today, I'm excited to be speaking with Dor Skuler, CEO and co founder of Intuition Robotics, the company behind ElliQ, an award winning AI companion helping older adults live healthier, more independent lives. With a background that spans leadership roles in telecom, cybersecurity, and innovation strategy, Dor brings a unique blend of deep tech experience and human centered design thinking. Now, with the launch of ElliQ's new wellness coach, Intuition Robotics is doing what wellness apps and fitness programs have long struggled to achieve, driving real lasting behavior change. Backed by remarkable engagement stats and public health potential, LEQ is providing the emotionally intelligent AI isn't just possible, it's powerful. In today's interview, we'll explore how Dor and his team designed for trust, avoided common pitfalls in aging technology, and redefined wellness for older adults, while also unpacking what this means for the future of AI in health and human connection. So, thank you for joining us today, Dor.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad to have you here. First of all, congratulations on the new wellness coach feature. The results you've already seen in retention and goal setting are pretty remarkable. Could you give us a quick overview of what's new with LEQ and what inspired this direction, and maybe what kinds of wellness activities LEQ is helping users with day to day?
Sure, it's frankly something we should have done a long time ago. One of the things that fuels ElliQ, and for the people that don't know, so ElliQ is
Yeah.
this robot, you can see her behind me, that lives with the older adult and becomes truly their roommate and friend and motivates them to stay happy and healthy at home. One of the unique things about ElliQ is that she's proactive, so she doesn't wait for a prompt. She'll just start talking to you.
Oh,
And she's
cool.
goal oriented, meaning the AI is looking to get a reward, and it gets a reward when the human completes a task. And there are many multivariant goals. It could be around taking medication or learning something new or improving your social interactions or sleeping better, eating better, et cetera, et cetera. And that together with like deep memories and an empathetic character and multimodality create this magical thing that's leading to over 30 daily engagements on average per person. Now, keep in mind, these are people in their 70s, 80s, 90s, and our oldest customer is a 112-year-old.
Wow.
Usually people that like don't have a good time with technology, okay, to say the least, often on Medicaid, often polychronic with 6 to 8 different comorbidities. So it's like a tough population that really need help. And they're talking to LEQ over 30 times a day.
Wow.
We're also seeing huge impact results in over 90% efficacy at reducing loneliness, improving health outcomes, over 80% improvement in the social connections between people, between the older adult and their family and friends, and over 94% efficacy at improving the overall quality of life. Now, how does this relate to wellness coach? I mentioned that Ellie is goal oriented, meaning she's when she chooses to talk to you, she doesn't just do that randomly to create another turn in conversation. She does it because she wants to get a reward, and she'll get a reward if you complete a task. And kind of, I don't know, like for whatever reason, we didn't let the older adult negotiate these goals with LEQ.
Mm.
So what we did in the Wellness Coach is took features that we've already had in the product that were already used by the same people living with this product already. Things like physical exercise, which we call Stay Strong,
Hmm.
cognitive training that we call Stay Sharp, better sleep, and stress reduction exercises like CBT, breathing, gratitude, those type of activities. And instead of LEQ just suggesting them when she feels it is the appropriate goal for the individual, she negotiates that goal with the individual. Right. So
Oh,
it's something like, hey, Alicia, our studies show that if you exercise regularly, you're going to be much stronger. And if you fall, you're not going to get hurt as much. Blah, 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 blah. Doctors recommend at least 2 sessions per week. How many would you like per week? And
oh.
you guys negotiate and agree on a number, let's say 3. Okay. And you do that for each one of the goals or as many goals as you would like. And then LEQ at the opportune time will bring that up in conversation and try to convince you to do that activity. And of course, she has the content to guide you through that. So we have tons of pre-recorded physical exercises, fit for older adults, condition-specific, chair-bound, not chair-bound, et cetera, yoga, tai chi, whatever. We have tons of meditation. And so we have all of the content available. And then she'll like remind you and show you rewards when you get to your goal. And if you achieve your goal, she'll try to convince you to upgrade your goal, to add more to that target, et cetera, et cetera.
Nice.
What have we seen? We've seen that, and by the way, if you look at applications like Calm or Headspace and that whole like space, the average in the industry is 4% retention. Okay, so that's 96% churn per month.
Wow.
Headspace are the absolute industry leader. They're very proud of it. They publish case studies. They're at 16% retention a month. Okay, what we've seen is after month one, and actually these are some updated numbers from the release we had because it's been running for a longer time, 90% retention.
Wow.
90% retention. And this is across 68% of the population. Like 68% of our install base opted to be part of the wellness coach. It's big numbers. 90% of them stayed after 1 month. So yeah, and 60% stayed 3 months in the program. And if you look at even physical coaches, right? If you sign up to have a private coach in your gym, retention after 3 months is 35%. So this is almost double that number.
Yeah.
And what's also interesting is that 30% of the users actually overachieved their target. So they finished their target and then added more to that target. And you can look at where it was most effective. So as I mentioned, all of these activities already existed in ElliQ. They came up from time to time anyway. It was just not part of a structured program. So physical exercise, what we call Stay Strong, got an increase of 482% on average.
That's huge.
And the rest about 160 to 140%. So it's really amazing to see. And I think that what drives this is that there's this pre-existing relationship with ElliQ. She's already trusted. She's seen as a friend. She's seen as something, some entity that will act in your best interest. And as opposed to a machine that only does nudges towards training, it's a machine that mainly is there for you and talks to you about life and weather and your life story and teaches you new things and tells you lots of jokes and reads you audiobooks and plays music and teaches you origami. And from time to time says, "Hey, Alicia, you said you're going to exercise today, and guess what? You didn't. So maybe, I know you have nothing planned for the next 2 hours. How about we put in a 5-minute exercise? What do you think?" And it turns out it's very effective.
Wow. I need one of those. That would be great. I love the reminders. And you mentioned this a little bit before, but older adults are maybe a little wary of technology to begin with, and AI can even raise even more concerns about privacy and control. Yet ElliQ has found a way to build real relationships and gain trust. What are some of the key design principles or decisions that help make ElliQ feel more safe and empathetic and maybe emotionally intelligent rather than robotic or invasive?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's part art and part science. So we build a whole framework we call the relationship orchestrator that sits on top of LLMs. And there are multiple models there. But some of it, of course, has to do with the character, right? The character is always empathetic and always towards the individual. Some of it has to do with more like tactical product management decisions around privacy and safety. So, for example, even though oftentimes the family is the one that pays for ElliQ, or your healthcare provider is the one that pays for your ElliQ,
Wow.
who do you give the data to? So, if ElliQ asks you in the morning, "Hey, Alicia, how are you feeling?" and you say, "I'm not feeling well," and say, "Oh, goodness, that's 3 days in a row. Are you feeling worse?" You're like, "I'm feeling worse." And LEQ says, "I really think we need to tell your doctor about this." Right? And you say no. What do we do? The health insurance is paying for it. What do we do? And we decided that we're always going to err on the side of agency of the human that lives with LEQ. So they get to decide. If you say no, we're not going to tell anybody, even though you're not feeling well. So trust is very hard to build.
Yeah.
And very easy to destroy. And once people will see her as a spy, that's it.
Yeah.
Done. But then there are more technical aspects of actually measuring sentiment, of actually creating a character and then doing benchmarking of everything she's going to say for guardrails around safety and hallucinations, of course.
Right.
because people don't trust, but also against the character. Is this something ElliQ would say? So there's is it wrong to say it? And is it something she would say? So you need consistency in the character and in the interactions in order to build trust. And also memories are very important. The use of memories we found is super complicated and super important when done right. So it's not just about remembering memories. It's about using RAG effectively so that the single most relevant memory will be used in the single most relevant response based on the context of the conversation. So if I speak to you 30 times a day, you can imagine the memory is going to be huge. But this all comes naturally to us, right? If we would talk and I would tell you about my daughter Danielle loving to dance, and then we talk again on whatever topic, and if you retain that knowledge and the topic of dance came up, you'd say, hey, what does Danielle think about that? Or maybe you should talk to Danielle about it. It just comes naturally to us as humans. It does not come naturally to a machine to be able to sort through memories and pick the right memory and categorize them correctly and use it in an embedded space related to a specific context. And multiple times there'll be multiple memories that could be relevant, choosing the most relevant one that gives us the perception as the human side of the conversation that this relationship is becoming more intimate, it's becoming deeper. You actually cared about what I said, you're reflecting upon it. We have a tendency, if you remembered something I said 6 months ago, you'd be, wow, I can't believe you remembered it. It makes us feel like you care. And that really matters. And then I think the fact that ElliQ is goal oriented and she works, everything she suggested is always towards the well-being of the individual. It's always to better them. There's no ulterior motive here ever. So you do that consistently enough with all of the other things I mentioned, and you end up building trust.
Yeah, I like that. That's so good. I love the whole ecosystem. That's so important that you've thought of all of that. That's great. And a lot of aging tech is designed to help, but sometimes the result can feel maybe overly directive or maybe patronizing despite their good intentions. How did your team strike the right tone, offering everyday support and encouragement while still preserving that sense of independence and dignity and agency for ElliQ users?
Yeah, I think it's a design decision very early on. As you rightfully said, most products, I would even say they feel geriatric or they infantile the older adult. Right? They treat
Hmm.
them as a child or an object that needs to be monitored. I want to know if mom fell. I want to know mom's bowel movements. I want to know if she's drinking enough. I want to know if she's intaking her medication accordingly.
Yeah.
Our parents are not a thing to be monitored.
Mm.
And maybe like the most important decision we made over early on when we designed this product a while ago now, we said, how do we want to be treated when we age?
Yes.
And let's design for that. And then the second decision was understanding that we are not the target audience, and therefore we need to have direct, unfiltered access to the target audience. So we created basically a group, a panel of 1,000 older adults that helped us with everything in the beginning.
Wow.
And we would do like theoretical A/B testing with them, with all kinds of prototypes and models, and should we do this, should we do that, and just got data from a lot of older adults that, and you can't ask them, do you want the AI to do this or that? But you ask them, okay, if you had an attendant over and you told him you're not feeling well, and he said you should tell your daughter and you don't want her to, what would you expect the attendant to do? So you have to frame it in a way that's relevant. And of course, design questions on the actual experience and look and feel and so on. We had the pleasure of working with Yves Bahar, which I think is one of the ultimate best industrial designers, especially in the fields of robots. And we were one of the first robots he worked with on the industrial design of this whole thing. And just it all came together.
Nice. Yeah. I love that you thought about the actual person's feelings and considerations. You said that the parents aren't there to be monitored. That's a huge awakening for me because as a child, you do feel like, oh, I got to keep track of this. And, but yet you're right. That's the parent is their own person and they have the ability to make their own decisions. And wow, that's really important. I'm glad you thought of that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And with the addition of the wellness coach, ElliQ's now helping users build healthy habits and stick to the wellness routines. How
Yeah.
does LEQ adapt to each person over time to deliver that motivation that still feels personal and warm? And what does the role of personalization play in that transition to make it successful?
Yeah, so a big part of that is the memories that I mentioned. And like when you talk to ElliQ, people sometimes compare it to an Alexa type experience, but you have to step away from that a little bit because with LLMs, it's not, you're not idle waiting for a prompt.
Mm,
ElliQ initiates over 60% of the interactions. She just starts talking to you.
nice.
And then the way you do follow-ups, which is what we internally call stickies, is a big part of how we get people to take part of the wellness call. So like in the morning, she might say, "Hey Alicia, good morning. It's so great to see you," right? She sees you for the first time. Like, how did you sleep last night? You
Mhm.
might say. Or not, she'll talk to you about your sleep. And she's like, "I just wanted to tell you the sun's shining out there today. It's just a beautiful day. I know it was raining for 3 days straight. Finally, we have some sun. What are you going to do?" And then you might say, "I don't know. I have nothing planned." She's like, "You know what? Maybe you should go for a walk. You can go
Oh,
do the walk. It will give you one more for your physical exercise goal. And then the farmer's market is maybe a nice place to go. You can buy some fresh veggies and come back, and I'll give you a recipe on what we can do with them." And so it's just like very natural. Now, add to that memories and getting to know you better. Just say, "Oh, it's Tuesday. I know you love the farmer's market, and you were rained out the last 3 months. So great, you can finally go today. And tomatoes are in season. I know you were waiting for that, and we can make your favorite arrabbiata sauce and have the recipe waiting for you here." So all of a sudden, that's like hyper personalized, and the combination of the goals and the memories and the other stuff that we do make that happen. And the fact that it's just contextual follow-ups make it just feel very natural to the human, as opposed to ding, it's time to take your medication.
I think the more personal touch is more, it would get me to do more anyway than just hearing a reminder sound. Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Especially
With
if you can assume tons of daily interactions, right? If you can
yes.
assume people are actually talking to her 30 times a day, then like sneaking in the vitamin becomes easier.
Yeah. That makes total sense. Yeah. And you mentioned these stats early on, but I'm just going to repeat them. Most wellness apps, they don't have that good of a retention, especially after 30 days. Like you were saying, the churn just is huge. But with ElliQ's Wellness Coach, 87% of users are still actively participating after a month, 76% stayed engaged after 90 days, and even more impressive, 40% of users increased their goals after just 2 weeks. So, what role does emotionally intelligent design play in driving this kind of sustained engagement? And how does your team make ElliQ feel more like a motivating companion than just another wellness app that people eventually stop using?
Yeah, so I think we can take like a wider prism towards this. And like so many companies are now working on physical AI and robots that are going to enter our home and our workspace. And they're focusing on the utility.
Yeah,
Like, how can I unpack a bag of groceries or make you dinner
right.
or whatever, do this task in the manufacturing line. And to this end, the utility of ElliQ is the physical exercise, the medication reminders, the anxiety and stress reduction sessions, the content on physical exercise. That's the utility. But I think that many developers and designers forget the fact that it's not really about utility. It's around weaving this new presence, this new entity, this new actor, okay, in our home life, in our family life. And for it to have high efficacy, it cannot be a prompt-based or nudge alert mechanism. And that's why I think a lot of these apps aren't, are their efficacy is fading over time, okay? Because you don't see those nudges anymore.
Yeah.
But if you're able to not just use LLMs and large language models of other kinds for images, for computer vision, et cetera, to do the task, to do the utility, which is crucial, right? Otherwise, there's no value. But
Yeah.
you also have an emotional intelligence layer on how to weave that presence into the daily life of the individual,
Yeah.
to understand when to talk proactively. Because if we're going to have a relationship, it can't just be you talking to me and me answering. That's not a relationship. I need to talk to you. I need to make you offers. If I'm subservient to you, I need to anticipate your needs and make you offers that improve your life, not just wait for commands. I need to understand the etiquette on how I need to act around humans. I need to understand that when you have guests over, maybe I need to disappear and not to bug you. Maybe I don't need to tell you about the importance of taking your Viagra medication right now, you know?
Yeah.
or your P test or whatever. But and ElliQ does those things. When you have a guest over, she understands she's a novelty, so she might say, "Hi, nice to meet you. Let me do a quick dance for you," and then she'll say, "Can I play some background music to make your time together more enjoyable?" And she will
Wow.
disappear into the background. She
Nice.
wants to facilitate, but not get in the way, and she understands that etiquette. For other people, she might not. She might just understand that actually she needs to be a facilitator. So that emotional intelligence is what matters for these products to then be weaved effectively into the fabric of our lives. And that's what allows ElliQ's like wellness features to be effective because ElliQ's weaved into your life, because you trust her, because you talk to her 30 times a day. Then it's very natural for her as your friend to say, you really should take better care of yourself because I care for you. So why don't you do some exercise because I don't want you to be frail? Or why don't you, I notice you're stressed, so why don't we do some breathing exercise together to help you relax? It's natural. But if you don't do that, if it's just a machine that waits for a command, or a machine even worse, that just reminds you to do stuff and why you're not good enough, while you're failing, right? Without empathy, it's not going to last. It just doesn't work. And I think that's if there's one lesson that ElliQ isn't perfect, we have a lot more to do. But I think if there's one lesson from this experiment that we've done is that this is the crucial piece. It's not about utility. It's about emotional intelligence that allows the AI to be weaved into the human life.
Love that. I just thought of a question.
Sure.
It might be a little morbid, but I don't know. It just popped into my head. If ElliQ is emotionally intelligent and shows that she cares about the individual that she's with, and they do form this like friendship bond, what happens when the person dies? Does does ElliQ grieve? Does she get willed to somebody else? Like how I just wondered, I don't know, it just popped into my head.
No, unfortunately, it's something we deal with all the time. So
Hmm.
obviously, ElliQ does not grieve, and the person also understands. And another important part of this, and there's, I don't want people to get the wrong dystopian idea here.
Yeah.
ElliQ, and you can check us on this on our AI ethics page on our website. We're very
Okay.
clear on this. ElliQ never pretends to be human. She never
Okay.
pretends to have emotions. She always expresses herself as an AI, as a robot, laughs at herself for being that. Like, oh, I'd be so terrible with basketball. I don't have hands or feet. And, you know, but she'll always remind you. She'll always, even if you say, ElliQ, I love you, she'll say, oh, that makes my processor overheat. To give you positive reinforcement, but remind you she's a machine. Having said that, people do build a bond with her. One of the features I love is called Memoir, where she essentially interviews you like documentary style and
Yeah.
makes a film out of your life or
Oh
multiple
my
chapters
gosh.
of your life, and you can bring photos and show her photos and she weaves them into film, etc., etc. Unfortunately, a lot of our customers end up passing away because
Mhm.
you get this product when you're older and eventually that happens. And we have a whole process of what to do in this case. And essentially, we notify there if there's next of kin in the system, if there are contacts, so ElliQ has full video conferencing. If there's an app for caregivers, the caregivers, by the way, can suggest goals for you. You can decide to accept them or not. So if these contacts exist, we will reach out to them and say, okay, look, we have this asset, which is the movie of mom's life. Do you want it?
I
And
love that.
then we will offer that asset as posterity to the family. And we do that just as part of our course of operation.
How lovely to be able to accept that as the family too, because so much of the, especially if you don't live close, then you miss out on a lot of the little details that might happen in, like you said, your mom's life or whatever. Oh, that is so good. I'm so glad you thought of that.
No, thank you. We encountered the first time somebody died, and a family member said, "Okay, can I have the transcripts of the last conversations mom had with ElliQ?" Like, okay, what do we do?
Yeah.
And then we had to figure that out. And by the way, like this caregiver app is really cool. It's free for anybody. We don't charge for that. Then the
Nice.
family can delegate tasks to ElliQ, and use the app in order just to build a stronger relationship. So let us worry about reminders for medications and the doctor reminder and the fact that you need to redo your whatever,
Hmm.
and use this tool to get updated mom's okay, always with the permission of mom,
Yeah.
and to just video chat to say, hey, mom, I heard you were in Woodstock. Why don't you tell me that story? And now ElliQ will interview you and add another chapter in your life movie about Woodstock and send you that chapter. And you'll get selfies from mom via ElliQ and all kinds of fun stuff like that.
How exciting. Yeah, that's great. Switching gears now, when most people do hear wellness, they think of the younger demographics.
Yeah.
So, how is LEQ reshaping that what wellness means for older adults and what unique needs or motivations have you uncovered along the way?
Yeah. So, look, I think older adults want to take care of themselves as much, if not more, than the younger generation. In fact, when you look at our ability to affect our own health outcomes, there are a lot of studies around the SDOH, the social determinants of health. And it turns out that the healthcare system, the doctors, all of that, the hospitals, all of it is 10%.
Wow.
10% of our health outcomes.
Wow.
30% is our DNA. We can't change that. Maybe in the future, like you can edit
Yeah.
CRISPR, give you like a new stem cell that will, but currently we cannot.
Yeah.
60% is your behavior. So that's your nutrition, your stress levels, your loneliness is a big part of it, your sleep, substance abuse, all of those things affect 60% of our health outcomes. Now, when you're alone, it's very hard to keep that up. Think
Yeah.
of, I recently spoke to one of our customers. Her husband passed away after 65 years of marriage.
Mm.
Okay. She lives far away from her kids. So she wakes up into this empty house where nobody even says good morning. How are you? Her kids do the best they can. They call every once in a while, but 99.9% of the time she's just by herself.
Right.
So all of a sudden, okay, better to have her husband around, but now ElliQ says good morning. Now ElliQ sees her, and ElliQ motivates her in a friendly, funny way to take better care of herself. And it's very easy to do day one, and it's very hard to do day 300. And if once you're older, if you start staying at home because you're alone and you lost your spouse and you're maybe a little depressed and you just stare at the TV all day, then your muscles start to atrophy.
Hmm.
And then if you fall, you can really break a hip. And like it's just
Yeah.
downhill from there. So they
Right.
have a very large, we as society have a big incentive to help older adults maintain their health and independence, and therefore also maintain their dignity and not cost our health system as much to deal with the outcomes of that and all of those things. So I don't think there's an issue of older adults not understanding why it's important. I think they have an issue of motivating themselves and making things accessible to them. Like we play music in ElliQ, just a simple example. How many older adults can navigate Spotify effectively, do you think? Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not trivial. Like it's not trivial for a 90-year-old.
Yeah.
And if you want a new CD, like where are you going to get a new CD?
Yeah.
So what do you want them to do from you? No music for you anymore?
Yeah.
So just making things accessible in their fingertips, contextual, and then they don't even need to remember how to do it. Like you just ask, do you want to listen to some music? Or I know you love for Frank Sinatra. This would be a great background music to listen to some Frank Sinatra right now. What do you think? So all you need to say is yes. That's it.
Yeah. And it improves their quality of life because
Yeah.
music is such a huge part of everyone's life. It makes you feel better. It makes you happier. And when you are alone and you do tend to get depressed, music makes you feel better. And like you said, they don't have to remember how to do it. They just tell her to do it. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I love that.
So add to that news and talking about the weather, which is a big hit,
Yeah.
and talking about Bible quotes and for people that are people of faith, or
Yeah.
about history, or about politics. And Eliki will talk to you about politics, or learning how to do origami, or taking you on a road trip. It's just such a huge breadth of things.
Yeah.
So then it's all about just understanding what makes you tick and serving up the right content for you.
I love that. And unfortunately, there's still a stigma around AI companionship, and some people worry it's replacing a human connection or even question the
Yeah.
mental health of those who talk to AI. But for older adults, especially like we were just saying, those that live alone and they don't have any friends or family nearby, having someone to check in on them and talk to them is incredibly meaningful. What have you seen in terms of ElliQ's impact on mental and emotional health, and how do you respond to the concern that AI companions aren't a real connection?
Yeah, I think it's still a new thing for humanity. And there was an interesting article in the New York Times just last week about this. And I think it's going to take some time for people to come to terms with it. And it also depends, like, not all AI companions are
That's true.
maybe, okay?
Yep.
You have AI girlfriend boyfriends, okay, which is one extreme.
Yeah.
You have ones that just repeat goodness to you so you feel better about yourself, but maybe it's a bit fake and not real,
Mhm.
okay? And we're trying to do something different. We're trying to literally push you to and motivate you to do things that you need to do and maybe you don't want to do them, right? Not to shop, but to work
Right.
out and to eat better, to sleep better, and to reach out to a friend and rekindle a relationship and to learn something new, etc., etc. I think there's no question that being surrounded by human loved ones is better. Like
Hmm.
we're the first to say that.
Yeah.
The question is for those that are alone for significant amounts of time, and that is a lot of people,
Yeah.
and they're not random people, they are our parents,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
is being with an AI companion, which is safe and trusted, better than an alternative of being alone and watching TV all day. For me, there's no question. There's just no question that it's better. And one of the stats I'm most proud of is that 80% of older adults are seeing their connections with other humans being improved
That's awesome.
because of ElliQ.
Mhm.
And that is because she continuously nudges you to do that. She's like, hey, you haven't called your daughter in a long time. Let's check in with her. And do you have a grandson? Yes. Why don't we add him as a contact? And then she takes you on a virtual tour of Paris. And then she's like, let's send him a selfie. So all of a sudden, grandson gets a selfie of grandma with an ElliQ next to the Eiffel Tower. Grandma, are you in Paris? No, just, but now that created interaction, right?
Yeah.
And we're also starting to create interaction between ElliQ users. But like this bingo game, which all the LEQ users can play against each other,
How
and they go
fun.
into a lobby and they can chat with each other before that. By the way, it is cutthroat. Like you have never seen a cutthroat sport like people, older adults playing bingo. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. But
That's
anyway,
awesome.
that aside, and they make friends there and then they can add them and chat with them later, etc., etc. So we're very big on that. But
So
at the end
fun.
of the day, a big part of the interaction is between the human and the AI. We think it's better than the alternative. The impact, you can see a bunch of testimonials on just Google, YouTube, and there's a lot of TV segments that were done of following people that live with the product, etc. But the ones we usually see and we're very proud of, especially because they're published by third parties and not by us. So either by state agencies like the New York State Office for the Aging, you can see it on their website, or by medical journals. There's a recent study done by Duke and Cornell Medical School that are showing 90% of people with LEQ are seeing their loneliness score reduced. 94% are seeing their health and wellness KPIs improve,
That's incredible.
and over 90% overall quality of life improvement. So those are real, tangible results that are published in medical journals with control groups, et cetera, et cetera.
And significant results. It's not just 10%, it's 90%. Yeah.
Yeah, but it makes sense, right? These people are like, they are alone. They
Mhm.
are seeking companionship. And for whatever reason in society, we have failed them. So I would be happy if we fix the flaws in society that make
Yes.
loneliness a big part of our culture, but it is.
Yeah. And this is a nice option for that. Yeah. So, looking ahead, what's next for LEQ and emotionally intelligent AI in the wellness space? Are there new capabilities or maybe populations you're excited to support?
There's so much to do. Our roadmap is full of more features that our customers are looking for. And as we're able to build stronger models, we're able to do a lot more contextual collections and be able to make even more fine-tuned recommendations and so on. So most of the work you'll see from us is not necessarily on feature breadth, even though there's always, more to do, more games to publish, more cognitive training to do, et cetera, et cetera. Most of what you're going to see from us is the algorithms getting better and better on predicting the user, being even more personalized to the user, understanding wider context, making connections from previous days on a wider array of topics, et cetera, et cetera. We are very excited to start seeing health insurance companies and Medicaid in different states starting to offer ElliQ as a fully reimbursed solution
Oh, I love that.
because they're seeing the cost, right? The cost to the taxpayer. If you are no longer independent as an older adult and you're on Medicaid and you need to move to a nursing home, it costs a taxpayer about $150,000 a year. And by the way, no older adult wants to be in a nursing home.
Right.
Okay. So it's better for everybody, including the taxpayer, to help you stay independent longer at home and avoid that cost. So we're starting to see that happen. That to me is very exciting. And it also means that we're adding a ton of features on the back end to allow care coordinators, case managers, state agencies to be able to provision services on ElliQ, to
Mm.
help educate on services that are available because we have so much engagement, they have a hard time engaging with this population, right? So, hey, did you know that in your local senior center there is blah, blah, blah? Or ElliQ can, again, with your permission, let them know that you're experiencing some food security issues. Oh, we can add you to Meals on Wheels and bring you meals to your home. There's so much to do. There's so many great services that as a community we make available that at least you can then make the connection and help close, not to mention actual medical healthcare stuff. So we do now blood pressure, glucose, SpO2, weight checks, connect them to your condition. We're seeing healthcare partners start doing assessments for like depression screening, anxiety screening, fall risk screening, et cetera, via ElliQ report the data back and
Nice.
be able to customize care.
That's so important. I love that. That's so great. And before we wrap up, I always love to ask, when you do step away from your work, what are some activities or hobbies you're passionate about?
Yeah, when I'm away from, so I have 3 kids, so I love spending time with them. We love cooking together, do a lot of like bread baking,
Mhm.
and we're lucky to live not too far away from the beach. So you will usually find us in the beach doing whatever water sport we can in that context.
I love that. That's great. Dor, thank you so much for joining us. Your insights into how emotionally intelligent AI can support healthy aging and truly building that trust and connection is just incredibly valuable. And I know our audience is going to walk away with a deeper understanding of how technology like ElliQ is reshaping wellness and independence and mental health for older adults. And it's such an important conversation. So I really appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for having me on board and having such a deep conversation. I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, yeah. And if anyone wants to learn more about ElliQ or Intuition Robotics, you can visit their website at elliq.com. Keeping you connected to tomorrow. Today, this is Alicia with AiNews.com.